And so our program will start sometime, I'm not exactly sure. What is it? 11, start at 11 and go on till 1-ish, or go on until it finishes. Yes, you'll know when it's finished, So, but, devotees and friends, please hear me, that in the evening means like around this time, we are going to have at least one and maybe two digital slideshows, and the first one will be about Ayodhya, which is the place of Lord Rama. We were there, and were you with me? You must have been with me, yes. October, was it, or September?
September, last.
Something like that. Yes, so we were there for, I don't know, a week or so. We visited the big temple, and we saw young Lord Rama. Sure, quite amazing actually. And we went to a number of other places, the Sarayu River. I don't know if you're familiar with the different places around Ayodhya, but the Sarayu River's there. And every evening, I think it's every evening, they have special arati to the Sarayu River. You know, just like in Mathura, in Rishikesh, you know, these sorts of places, they do special evening aratis. Yeah. So they do it in Ayodhya on the banks of the Sarayu, and it's really nice actually. It's really nice. So we got loads of photos of that and photos of the main temples and so on and so forth, and some photos of the deity in the big round temple. So, you know, after having fasted till 1-ish or thereabouts, and then had a nice, very nice transcendental feast cooked by, who's cooking? Mamata. Really? Oh yes. I think she told me that she's doing it.
So we'll have Gujarati dal.
Good. And Gujarati other things too. So, yeah, so after that, and I guess it'll all wind up, I don't know, 2-ish or something. Something like that. Then you can take a little break, have a little nap, as Srila Prabhupada would call it, a short nap, a snap. So take a little break and come back. Take a snap and come back. Yeah, 6-ish. And we'll go to Ayodhya. I don't know, but I don't expect that many, if any of you have been to Ayodhya. Anyone been to Ayodhya? I imagine quite a few of you have been to Vrindavan and some to Mayapur, maybe Jagannath Puri. Ayodhya, what a place. Wow, it's amazing. I mean, it's particularly amazing in the sense of the Ram consciousness. Oh yeah, of the people. You know, just like in Vrindavan, it's all Radhe, Radhe. You know that. So in Ayodhya, it's all Ram, Ram. But the people, I probably shouldn't say this, and maybe I won't, but they're sort of easier going than in Vrindavan. Vrindavan, can be a bit annoying sometimes. But they are just really nice in Ayodhya. Oh, it really was quite something, actually. So anyway, come along and see it. And I don't have a huge number of photos, so it won't be that long. I mean, we'll just see, but I don't expect it'll be less than an hour, maybe half an hour, I would say. Something like that, and then, then we can probably, the most interesting, well, anyway, one thing we could do, we went, what was it, just before that, to Badrinath and Kedarnath by helicopter, would you believe? And we've got quite a digital slideshow about Badrinath in the Himalayas and Kedarnath, which is even more in the Himalayas. So what do you think? Anyway, I leave it up to you. We will just go ahead with it. So, okay, so here we go. Now with Lord Ramachandra. So, yes, we'll begin with Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 10, the pastimes of the Supreme Lord Ramachandra. And we will begin with verse 1. Well, actually, no, I'll begin with verse 2, if you don't mind. I'll begin with verse 2. Tasyapi Bhagavan Esha Sakshad Brahmamayo Hari Angshan Shena Chatur Dagat Putra Tvam Prautita Surai Rama Lakshmana Bharata Shatrugna Iti Samgyaya. Yes, so, translation. Being prayed for by the demigods, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Absolute Truth Himself, directly appeared with His expansion and expansions of the expansion. How's that? And what about the expansions of the expansions of the expansions? Well, seriously, they are there also. Partial expansions, parts of parts. It's a great science, the science of God. I mean, what would you expect? He is the greatest, so it's a great subject, my Lord. So, right. So these celebrated incarnations thus appeared in 4 forms as the sons of Maharaj Dasharath. Right. Let us just read. There's a short purport here, looks like 3 or 4 sentences. I'll just read it. Lord Ramachandra and his brothers, Lakshman, Bharat and Shatrugna, are all Vishnu Tattva, not Jiva Tattva. Vishnu Tattva means they're in the category of the Supreme Lord. Jiva Tattva means in the category of the ordinary little living entities. And that's us. But Ramachandra, Lord Ram, Lakshman, Bharat, Shatrugna, they're all Vishnu Tattva. They're not, they're not ordinary living beings. They're not even, you could say, just special ordinary living beings. But they're actually directly forms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, yes, right. Let me just continue here with the purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead expands into many, many forms. Advaitam achutam anadim ananturupam. That's Brahma Samhita chapter 5, verse 33. Although they are one and the same, Vishnu Tattva has many forms and incarnations. As confirmed in the Brahma Samhita chapter 5, verse 39, Ramadi Murti Shukala Niyamena Tishtam. I mean, at a push, I don't know, what do you think? We could move forward a little, but we don't want to, make a squeeze. We call this the close association of devotees. It's very auspicious. Many devotees would practically give their lives to associate closely with very nice devotees like yourselves. Yes, so anyway, the Lord is situated in many forms, such as Ram, Lakshman, Bharat, and Shatrughna, and these forms may exist in any part of his creation. All these forms exist permanently, eternally, as individual personalities of Godhead, and they resemble many candles, all equally powerful. That's interesting, isn't it? Like many candles, all equally powerful. That's something to think about. Lord Ramachandra, Lakshman, Bharata, and Shatrughna, who, being Vishnu Tattva, are all equally powerful, became the sons of Maharaj Dasarath in response to prayers by the demigods. It means that things were not going well in the universe, even in the whole universe, but particularly on this planet, but in the whole universe also. And when it gets really like that, then the demigods pray to the Supreme Lord. Those of you who are, familiar enough with Lord Krishna and his appearance would know that right in the beginning of the 10th canto, which is basically, you could say, the biography of Lord Krishna, the biography, then because there were many kings who were sort of harassing each other and harassing the people in general. These types of people do that sort of thing. And, one thing they were doing, they were marching their soldiers up and down and up, and making sort of, what would you say, like showing off that we've got so many soldiers, and then the next one has to show off, well, I've got even more soldiers. And when they were marching, sometimes you may see on TV, if you're unfortunate enough to watch it. Don't do it too often, please, for your own sake. But anyway, sometimes you see some footage of some sort of military show or parade, like in Moscow on, January the 8th. It is the day of victory for the Russians. And they do that. They have a whole big thing with these nuclear missiles, gigantic things. And all these soldiers, and they all march. They don't just sort of, go left, right, left in some ordinary sort of way, but, they stick their legs out and they stamp. And it's like, really, it's kind of very aggressive. So, all those soldiers of the kings back in those days, 5,000 years ago, they were stamping on the earth. And it was causing pain to Mother Earth. Yes. And we know, and Prabhupada talked about how they do, like in this country, they have done, they still do to some degree, mining for gold. And they go deep, like outside Joburg, going out to the west is the western deeps. They go down 1.5 kilometers into the earth. And the earth is sort of like the body of Mother Earth. And it hurts her. She doesn't like it. And you know what happens when someone like her decides she doesn't like something? She gives some reaction. Oh yeah. Although, in the 8th canto, in the story of Lord Vamana and Bali Maharaj, it's said there, Mother Earth can tolerate practically anything, like pressure or digging holes, all these sorts of things. But Mother Earth cannot tolerate, do you know what? A liar. She will not tolerate a liar. It's in the 8th canto. So, watch out. Anyway, no, you're all very honest. I don't need to say that. But I can tell you one funny little story about that. True story, told to me personally by His Holiness Subhag Swami. Some of you might know him or know of him. He told me that when he first met Prabhupada, because he's Bengali, and Prabhupada's Bengali, but they met in London. And Prabhupada found out there's a young Bengali man here. Moved into the temple, Prabhupada wanted to see him. So he came down, met with Prabhupada, and Prabhupada said, "Oh, you're Bengali, where are you from?" "Calcutta." "Oh, I'm from Calcutta also." Prabhupada said, "Which part of Calcutta?" And Subhad Maharaj was in a part of Calcutta which was right on the border of a good area and a not good area. And he was right on the border. So to make a nice impression, and being sure Prabhupada would never know that it wasn't true, he moved himself one street into the and he said, "Yes, well, I'm from such and such area, from such and such street." And Prabhupada said, "Oh, really? I know that street. That's a very good area." And Subhad Maharaj thought, yes, I have made a good impression. So that night, Srila Prabhupada gave a class, and in the class, Srila Prabhupada somehow or other got into the subject of honesty, and particularly with the spiritual master. Prabhupada said, one should never lie to the spiritual master. And Subhag is there thinking, he's not referring to me, is he? How would he know? He couldn't be. And how would he know? But it wasn't a big lie, it was just a small lie. And then Prabhupada looked right at him and said, "Not even a little white lie." So yes, watch out for lying. Yeah. Okay. So, right. So, Lord Ram, Bharat and Shatrughna, they were prayed for by the demigods, just like Krishna was 5,000 or so years ago. Same sort of idea. Exactly, really, the same sort of idea. And so Krishna appeared and they appeared. they appeared. And they appeared to, carry out their mission. Basically like Krishna, Paritranaya Sadhunam, to protect the sadhus or the devotees. Vinashaya cha duskritam. Duskritam means the bad people, not just bad people, but the intelligent bad people. Because you've got to really watch out for them. The kind of, should I say it, but, the ones who are not so bright and bad, you may not have to worry about them so much. But the ones who are intelligent, like the big criminals, and dare I say it, the big politicians, but no, anyway. Yes. Paritranaya sadhuna. And vinashaya chaduskritam. Krita, dushkrita. Krita means merit. Some qualification is there. But there's sukrita means it's used for su, a good purpose. And dushkrita means that qualification is used for bad activities. So Krishna comes and Lord Ram comes. Vinash. Nash means to destroy. And V as a, what would you call it? A grammatical, what's it called?
Pronoun.
Not a pronoun.
Prefix.
A prefix. Prefixes and suffixes. I studied Russian for years and I had to learn all these things and verbs and, all the different permutations. So the prefix V means very. So Krishna does not just come and nash. He comes and he vinash. He very destroys them. Like he obliterates them. And so does Lord Ram. Oh yeah. Whew. And just an interesting little point. It's not such a little point, but there is Lord Ram, there's Lord Krishna, and then there's Lord Chaitanya. And there are three very special forms of the Lord who we are particularly interested in and particularly appreciative of. So Lord Ram is called, that each one of them is Purushottama. Purusha meaning person and Uttama meaning supreme. Each one of them is the supreme person. But they sort of manifest themselves, conduct themselves differently. So Lord Ram, who sort of historically speaking appeared first, then he is called Maryada Purushottama. Maryada means, it means the rules and regulations. The supreme person who particularly observes the rules and regulations. Not necessarily all the time, but so much of the time. I mean, there's certain things when there's special considerations of Leela where he didn't really follow rules, like when he basically insisted that Sita walk through fire after rescuing her and killing Ravana. So everyone was saying, and Lakshman was saying, well, his idea was, she's been living in the house, not really in the house as such, but in the place of another man. And this is just a big no-no for a lady. married lady. So, yeah, that's what Lord Ram said. Well, you know, she's been living in the house of another man, in the place of another man, and it's very important, it's essential, he was saying, that she prove her purity. And everyone, including Lakshman, was saying, no, there's no need for that. Because everyone knows the circumstances. She was kidnapped and held a prisoner. Not that she was sort of, you know, staying with him or something along those lines at all. But anyway, Lord Ram was saying like that. And Lakshman said that, listen, you know, even if you really insist that someone has to build a fire for Sita to walk through, who's going to build the fire? No one will do it, because they'll all think this is ridiculous. How can we do this? It's an insult to Sita. And Lord Ram said that, well, Lakshman, actually, there is one person who's going to do it. It's you, Lakshman. Because you are my younger brother, and you must do what I say. In the absence of the father, the older or oldest brother takes the role of the father. So Lakshman very unwillingly and unhappily built the fire. And then later on, Lord Ram had been going around, you know, I mean, I assume you're pretty familiar with all these things. He was going around in disguise to find out, what do the citizens think about him? How do they feel about how he's running things, governing and all that? I mean, nowadays, you know, the head of state would not have to go around incognito to find out. They just have to look in the newspapers and they'll find out what the people think. But Lord Ram had to do that, so he did it. And he heard one Dobi Walla, and I don't know if any of you are Dobi Wallas, we don't want to offend any Dobi Wallas. In Joburg we have devotees, a few, who are big Dobi Wallas. Anyway, this Dobi Walla, generally they're considered sort of like working class, you could say, you know, like Sudra, was complaining to his friends, my wife stayed in the house of another man for one night, so I kicked her out. I booted her out, and she's not coming back. In other words, effectively he divorced her. And he said, I'm not like that Ram. He's henpecked. His wife was also staying in the house of another man, but he accepted her back. I'm not low class like that Ram. So Lord Ram heard that, and then he decided, well, she has to go. She has to go. And again, there's a whole thing with Lakshman, that, you know, Ram says, you know, Lakshman, this is what happened. And to maintain the standards of morality, I have to reject Sita and send her away. I have to do it. And Lakshman said, no, you don't have to do it. I mean, it's a bit of a long story, actually. But, oh, you know, Mataji, I was telling them about your cooking. And they're looking forward to Sunday.
Alright, the pressure is on now.
Anyway, okay. So, right. So, yes. And so Lord Ram said, yeah, you must, I mean, not you, but someone must take her into the forest and just leave her there. And Lakshman said, there's no need. You know, why listen to some stupid Dobiwala? He's just a Sudra. He doesn't understand. So there's no need. And even if there was a need, who's going to take her out and leave her in the forest? No one's going to do that. And take a guess what Lord Ram said. No, you're wrong, Lakshman. Someone is going to take her. You are going to take her. And while, you know, back at the time of the fire and at that time, Lakshman was thinking, listen, just thinking, you know, this older brother of mine, he's very nice. I love him. I just love him completely. But he makes these wrong decisions. So, and I'm the younger brother. I get stuck with it all. What can I do? So Lakshman made up his mind. Next time, I will be the older brother. And I will make the decision. And you know, things will go much better. So then he appeared as Lord Balaram with Lord Krishna, and Balaram was the older brother. And then next time as Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, then Lord Nityananda was much older, like 12 years. 12 years older, like really a lot older. So anyway, Maryada Purushottama, Lord Rama is famous for, on any subject, he has one word. One word. And he has one wife. In those days, it was not unusual. In fact, it was almost usual that at least the warriors, the Kshatriyas, the nobility and so on, that they would have multiple wives. So anyway, but not Lord Ram. Only one wife. Ekapatni Vrata, it's called. A vow of only having one wife. I mean, we might say that, you know, that's normal nowadays. But in those days it wasn't normal for people like Lord Ram. I mean, he was high-level royalty, highest-level royalty. And then, for his enemies, one arrow, not two, one arrow. So these are the three ones of Lord Ram. And so he's Maryada Purushottama, the supreme person who observes the rules and regulations and the proper standards like that. And he generally, I mean almost always, he rigidly upheld those standards. Rigidly. Yeah. And so he's Maryada Purushottama. Then there's Krishna. Krishna is Leela Purushottama, the Supreme Person who is known particularly for his amazing and wonderful and beautiful pastimes. Yeah, all his different pastimes. Lord Ram also had pastimes, but not of the same nature so much. Yeah. And then there's Lord Chaitanya, who is, what's the term? Anyway, he's known for Audarya Purushottama, the Supreme Person who's particularly merciful. It may not be Audarya, but Audarya means very merciful. Yes, so Lord Ram is special like that. Let's read on a few more verses. O King Parikshit, the transcendental activities of Lord Ramachandra have been described by great saintly persons who have seen the truth. Because you have heard again and again about Lord Ramachandra, the husband of Mother Sita, I shall describe these activities only in brief, because the Valmiki Ramayana was already existing 5,000 years ago. This Srimad Bhagavatam we're talking about, give or take, it's 5,000 years ago. And Lord Rama appeared long time before. And Valmiki Ramayana was there. And there are many sort of, what would you say? I don't know what you'd say. Kind of offshoots of Valmiki Ramayana. I mean, they even are now. But in those days, there were all sorts of different versions even. Like there were versions where, this famous, even controversy in some people's minds, did Lord Ram worship Lord Shiva before crossing to Lanka or not? And there are versions of the Valmiki Ramayana who don't even mention that at all. But then there are other versions which do mention it. Of course, it's an interesting point, but even if he did worship Lord Shiva, we don't have a problem with that at all. In fact, we think it's very nice. In fact, it's glorious. It's, something to celebrate about Lord Ram, because the Supreme Lord loves his devotees and appreciates his devotees. He worships his devotees. Lord Krishna, this may be something some of you are not aware of, that Lord Krishna at home, and not just Lord Krishna, but there in Vrindavan, in the village, everyone loves Krishna. Everyone really loves Lord Krishna. It's just, literally the most amazing thing. But they're all religious people. And who do you think they have on their altars at home? Krishna? No. Why would they put Krishna there? He's just one of the boys. Yeah. He's this naughty little boy. He steals the butter sometimes and other things. So why would we put him on the altar? So they don't worship him in that formal sense, but they just love him. But they just really love him, on a scale, in ways we can't even really comprehend. Yeah. So, but they're religious people. Who do they have on their altar? They're all devotees of Lakshmi Narayana. They're all devotees of Lakshmi Narayana. And on their altar is Lakshmi Narayana. And they offer arati to Lakshmi Narayana. And, I don't know if you've noticed it, if you've read the 13th chapter of Madhya Lila, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Lord Krishna talks about how he has left Vrindavan and now he's living elsewhere. But he says, by the mercy of Lord Narayan, I come every day. Yeah. I come every day in the morning and I go back in the evening. It's all by the mercy of Lord Narayan. Hope I haven't shocked anyone by saying that, but it's an interesting little detail. Yeah. So, Shamananda Prabhu, just tell me, Lord Chaitanya's ... Purushottama, what's the term?
Why my spiritual master expresses prema Purushottama.
Okay, you got it. Thank you. You should always invite Shamananda Prabhu to the program. He'll sort out any problems, philosophical. Prema Purushottama, that's right. That's right. Yeah, the Supreme Person who his main feature is his love. His love. He loves so much, he even delivers people like Jagai and Madai, who are like horrific killers and just too bad. People are just too bad. So yeah. So okay. So now, here, this is Shukadeva Goswami speaking to Maharaj Parikshit, and he's saying that you already know all these things because there's so many literatures and they've been around for not just decades or even centuries or even thousands of years, but millions of years. But, I must say something about him. I have to say something about him, because Shukadev's already talked about Nrsingadev and Varaha and Vamana and Matsya, etc., and some others, forms of the Lord. And Lord Rama is so prominent, more prominent than those ones that I just mentioned, in fact. So he has to say something, but he'll just do it in brief. Yeah. And interesting little point, there is, I mentioned, there are inconsistencies between different versions of Valmiki Ramayana. And that's one instance. Did he worship Lord Shiva or not? And some don't mention it, but some versions do mention it. So, anyway, if he did, that's just great. Krishna, when Nanda Maharaj would come home in the evening, every evening, he'd offer arti to his father. Yes. Do you offer arti to your daddy when he comes home? Anyway, think about it. I think he's worth it. Yeah, I don't know about offering arti, but I've seen in a number of homes and even public places, children from very good families in India, like really good families, bowing down to their parents, right down, and taking the dust from their feet. I've seen it many times. So, offering respect is very nice. Yes, so there's one more thing I want to mention about Lord Ram. Is actually about Mother Sita. And in order to do that, let me see. Yes, okay. I need to read the next verse, which is verse 4. Verse 4. And I'll just read the translation and then I'll say a few words. Bear with me. To keep the promise of his father intact, Lord Ramachandra immediately gave up the position of king and, accompanied by his wife Mother Sita, wandered from one forest to another on his lotus feet, which were so delicate that they were unable to bear even the touch of Sita's palms. The Lord was also accompanied by Hanuman or another monkey, Sugriva, king of the monkeys, and by his own younger brother, Lord Lakshman, both of whom gave him relief from the fatigue of wandering in the forest. Having cut off the nose and ears of Shurpanaka, thus disfiguring her, the Lord was separated from Mother Sita. He therefore became angry, moving his eyebrows, and thus frightening the ocean, who then allowed the Lord to construct a bridge to cross the ocean. That's interesting, isn't it? Just that's Bhagavatam is saying that he became angry and moved his eyebrows. And if anyone wants to do a demonstration, I mean, it's not such a big thing. It's not like screaming at someone or, going wild. You move your eyebrows. But that was enough to frighten the ocean. And the ocean then allowed the Lord to construct a bridge to cross the ocean. Subsequently, the Lord entered the kingdom of Ravana to kill him like a fire devouring a forest. May that Supreme Lord Ramachandra give us all protection. This is a blessing. This is a blessing to all of us. This is Shukadev Goswami, very great devotee, and he's offering a prayer on everyone's behalf. That may the Supreme Lord Ramachandra give us all protection. And let me, what now? Just shall I? I'll just mention something from, I'll read verses 6 and 7. O King, the pastimes of Lord Ramachandra were wonderful, like those of a baby elephant. Baby elephant. Have you met many baby elephants before? Have you met a baby elephant? Baby elephants, I've met a couple of baby elephants. We have in Mayapur. I went down there. Yeah, I went down there once to take photos. And there's a couple of these baby elephants. And they're real characters. They're babies, but they're about this size. Yeah. And, sort of a bit clumsy. And they flap their ears. And they wave their trunks. And they're just real characters. And they sort of jump around with each other. Yeah. So in the assembly where Mother Sita was to choose a husband in the midst of the heroes of this world, he broke the bow belonging to Lord Shiva. This bow was so heavy that it was carried by 300 men. That Lord Ramachandra bent and strung it and broke it in the middle, just as a baby elephant breaks a stick of sugar cane. Thus the Lord achieved the hand of Mother Sita, who was equally as endowed with transcendental qualities of form, beauty, behavior, age, and nature. Indeed, and please note this, she was the goddess of fortune. She's not just some special, very pretty lady or cultured lady or rich lady or something like that. She is the goddess of fortune, who constantly rests on the chest of the Lord. So, anyway, this brings up a point I just wanted to address. If you've read Chaitanya Charitamrita, you would have read the part where, when Lord Chaitanya was traveling in South India, just after he took sannyas, and before he came and just settled in Jagannath Puri for the rest of the time he was present. So when he was traveling in South India, he met one very nice Brahmin who was a devotee of Lord Ram. And this Brahmin, devotee of Lord Ram, invited Lord Chaitanya, please come to my house and I will prepare lunch for you. So Lord Chaitanya agreed. That was his practice. He would be invited by some Brahmin or Brahmin family every day to take lunch at their place, and he would do it. So he went there. This is kind of latish morning. So there he is, Lord Chaitanya's there, and, doesn't say exactly what he was doing, but I'm sure he was chanting. Probably he was just chanting and chanting. But then he noticed my host, who did not have a family, it was just himself, he was not cooking. And the time was sort of moving on. Maybe he got there around 10 or so, and he'd expect the person to start cooking by 11 maybe, and be ready sort of 1 o'clock perhaps. But now it's midday, the fellow hasn't started cooking. In fact, he's kind of like sitting there motionless, like he's in a troubled state of mind, and he's just, sort of in his head about some problem. So Lord Chaitanya, time passed on, now it's 12 o'clock, and Lord Chaitanya asked him, you've invited me for lunch, but you haven't started cooking. What is wrong? You seem disturbed. And the devotee said, I just practically every day, this whole thought pattern just overcomes me and just overwhelms me. And that is that how could Ravana have kidnapped Mother Sita? How could he have done that? Someone as low as him. Because, when we talk about low, Ravana was a Rakshasa. And Lord Ram, later on in the same chapter, I'm sure we'll read it over the next few days, Lord Ramachandra tells him, you are the lowest of the Rakshasas. That's pretty low, because Rakshasa means cannibal. And you all know, I'm sure, that we are not pro-meat eating. We are not pro-meat eating. But do you know anyone who is a cannibal? I mean, what would you think if you met someone who was a cannibal? It's off the scale, isn't it? Meat eating is, if any of you are, I don't want to offend you, but, in Krishna consciousness, in Ram consciousness, it's not accepted. But it's one thing for someone to be a meat eater. It's another thing for someone to be a cannibal. And that's what Ravana was. And Ravana, he's holding Sita, but she was imprisoned there for, they say, 10 months and 5 days or something. And finally at the end, last day, he told her, listen, you give in to me willingly and become one of my wives. He had 12,000 wives, all of whom he'd kidnapped. So you give in to me willingly, or I will eat you for breakfast tomorrow. And he actually meant it. He's not just, making a display of being very heavy. He actually meant it. Fortunately, he didn't get the chance. So anyway, this devotee is lamenting, Mother Sita, she is the goddess of fortune. She is the internal potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. She is just like the epitome of divinity. How could she be touched? How could her body be touched by a Rakshasa? I just can't accept it. I cannot accept that it happened. Yes, I do not accept that he actually kidnapped her. No, which is a pretty strong thing to say because it's one of the main points in the whole saga. So Lord Ram, seeing this devotee, is just so, and he said, like, every day this happens to me, and I just lose it. I just lose it. I cannot deal with it. How could it be true? I don't accept it's true. So Lord Chaitanya said, all right, you've made a very interesting point, very important point. Let me look into it, and I will get back to you. So Lord Chaitanya left and travelled around South India further for a little while, and when he was down there, and I'll have to ask Shamananda Prabhu again, in the ... temple. Adikeshava, thank you. I thought it was, but I didn't want to say the wrong thing. Yeah. In the Adikeshava temple, which is not like a really big temple, but it's very important and very ancient temple from before, the invasions and all that, the Muslims and company. So he was in there, and he met with the devotees, and wherever he was going, he was asking them, do you know anything about this? And in that temple, Adikeshava temple, the Brahmin said, yes, you know what? We have here a copy of Kurma Purana, which tells the story of what happened when Mother Sita was apparently kidnapped. But what happened was, the devotees told Lord Chaitanya, that Lakshman had established an Agni, Agni-empowered circle around Sita. Means Lord Agni, the demigod of fire, was protecting her. And when Mother Sita stepped through that Agni circle, she, it's not like she suddenly disappeared and another identical looking, but not actually Sita, suddenly came, like one goes, the other comes. But it was so just simultaneously, you couldn't see it happen. But Sita went to Agni Loka, and the Maya Sita came out the other side and was kidnapped. And Maya Sita could not resist physically. She was not able to resist. So she was kidnapped. Otherwise Sita, because we just read, indeed, she was the goddess of fortune who rests on the chest of the Lord. And, the goddess of fortune is the manifestation of the internal potency, and the external potency, the material energy, which this material world is made of, and which the strength of everyone, even all of us, but also Ravana, is made of that material energy. That material energy, the deity, Durga, the deity of the material energy, is just one single ray from the effulgent toenails of the goddess of fortune. Just one little ray. In other words, there are many rays coming out of each toenail of the goddess of fortune, rays of light. She's just one of them. And she's the entire material potency. And whatever power Ravana has comes from her. So Lord Chaitanya, you know what he did? He tore the pages out of the Kurma Purana and took it back to that Ram Bhakta. It's in Chaitanya Charitamrita, you can read it, it's there. And he showed, look here, this is Purana. This is authentic. It's true. It's not just some author's opinion. This is actually true. See, this is what happened. And then that Brahmin was happy. Yeah, I knew he couldn't have touched Sita. Not possible. And even there's an incident, I don't want to keep you too long, but there's an incident, well, there's two incidents, actually, that, Lord Ram broke the bow, strung the bow, pulled the string, broke the bow. The deal was, just string it. Am I right?
Yeah.
Just string it. That's all. You don't have to do more than string it. He strung it, and then he pulled the string back so far the bow broke. Yeah. But that bow, we read, did we read? I think we did. It took 3 years. It was so heavy it had to be carried by 300 men. But there's an incident pretty sort of consistently in different Valmiki Ramayans, where Mother Sita, before the wedding, she and some of her girlfriends are playing a ball game in a courtyard just outside the room where this bow is lying on some sort of trolley type thing. And they're throwing the ball around and jumping around and laughing and joking together. The ball got stuck in the tree. How to get the ball out? Couldn't climb up that far. Tried shaking the tree. Ball was stuck. So Mother Sita said, I know. There's that big bow there, just inside. Let me get it and we'll poke the ball out. So she went and picked it up with one hand and just poked the ball out. And the guards who were guarding the bow, they were like, what? So she is so powerful. And that's nothing for her. That's simply nothing for the goddess of fortune. And during the Swayamvara, which they did with the bow, for, her to pick someone as a husband, Ravana was there. Because all these princes and people, they all came because they wanted to get Sita. So Ravana was there, and Ravana was the only one before Lord Ram came. He was the only one who managed to lift it. He lifted it about 2 inches, but then he couldn't manage, and it fell on his fingers, and he couldn't get his fingers out. So Lord Ram was the next one, the last one, and he just came and said, oh, can I help? Can I help? And he just picked up the bow with one hand. Otherwise, poor old Ravana, his fingers would have been just crushed. Yeah, because his power is just material power. So how can he overpower the goddess of fortune? Mahalakshmi, who's higher, Sita, who is higher than Lakshmi. Because Ayodhya is the highest part of Vaikuntha. And down in the next level down, you find the Lakshmis. So yes, that's an interesting story, isn't it? Hope I didn't upset anyone, by mentioning that. But read it in Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's interesting. So we will carry on. What time must we finish? 10 o'clock? 10:30? Slightly earlier. Okay, how about 8? Anyway, okay. So we will carry on, devotees and friends, with Ram Leela of different types, whenever our next program, which is dedicated to that, whenever that happens. And then, of course, on Sunday. Shri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman Ki Jai. Shri Ram Navami Mahotsava Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande. Okay, so where's Vishwamba Prabhu? He's organizing. Anyway, what should we do now? That's the point. Should we have a little kirtan?
Short kirtan when we get prasadam ready.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Let us have a short kirtan. Hare Krishna. Oh no, Shamananda Prabhu is here. If I was to try to sing, could you please play harmonium?
Is that a harmony?
It is. Okay, everyone, let us